So there has been a lot of talk across socials, certainly not just, on, YouTube, but again, across socials, you name the platform, people have been talking about how Drake's lawsuit has included content creators. And like most of the nonsense that people have been saying about Drake's lawsuit, there has been tons of misinformation spewed about this topic. And in my opinion, much of that has been done on purpose. Now, this is why content creators have been added to Drake's lawsuit versus UMG. What do Screwface John, The Ville, Big Zoe, and a bunch of other content creators all have in common? And it may be more than one thing. The answer is all of them, in my opinion, have willingly participated in misinformation involving this lawsuit, specifically within the past couple of weeks. Now, I could argue that this has gone on longer than this, but as an example, the group of content creators that I just named within the past 2 weeks all reported that UMG is saying in their most recent filing that they have evidence of Drake involving Drake's behavior with minors. We all heard the reporting on that, right? They're referring to an excerpt from Exhibit 2, Section B in Drake's legal filing. I'm going to read you the specific portion that in question here. It says, and again, this is a listing of the things that UMG is saying, essentially, that they have available to them, and that essentially they're prepared to show in court if need be. Okay, and one of these items are news reports and documents concerning number one, Drake's relationships with and behavior around minors. Number two, the criminal charges and conviction of Baka Not Nice, aka Travis Savory. And number three, the rap feud between Drake and Kendrick Lamar, including but limited to the documents appended as exhibits N through X to UMG's R, J, and N. Okay, and again, this is a small portion of the legal filing. Now, on its face, you might go, what's the big deal? Like, why are we getting mired in the details? And this case is going on. And this poses three distinct problems for not only these content creators, and I don't mean just the ones I named, I mean the group of them. And it's a much larger group, right? But I specified those content creators specifically for a reason I'm about to reveal in just a few moments. But this poses three distinct problems for these content creators and for UMG, okay? First, these documents in question that I just read, that those content creators reported on 2 weeks ago, have been available since July of this year. Let me say that again. The documents that had the bombshell claim that these content creators have reported on, right? That day, which I believe was August 20th, don't quote me on that, but they reported on it within the same 24-hour period, right? And again, it was several others, right? Justin Hunt, it was a number of others, okay? Monet, I'm not just singling out the three of these because they're the only ones guilty of this. No, that is not why. I'm singling them out because they were the first ones that I saw that reported on it, but I later confirmed that many others had reported on it. And actually, I believe Monet was the first, but I could be wrong there. Now, the second problem that they have, again, not just the content creators I singled out, but the group of them, and in my opinion, UMG, is that UMG has already stated in an earlier filing that Kendrick Lamar's PDF allegations that he made on Not Like Us about Drake weren't true. Let me say that again for the people all the way in the back. UMG has already stated in an earlier filing that Kendrick Lamar's PDF allegations were not true, that he made on Not Like Us. They went on to say that it was hyperbole, that this is what happens in hip hop, diss battles or diss tracks when artists are battling and going back and forth. And finally, number 3, which is that if these documents were available, as I said, since July of this year, why did all these content creators, not just the ones I named, but many, many others, or not many, but quite a few others, why they all report them on the same day? Report this line that I highlighted here on the same day. And this is not a paragraph long document. This is a 7-page document found in Exhibit 2. But more importantly than that, this exhibit is part of a much, much larger legal filing that has hundreds of pages. I had to reprint these because the one I have is bound in one sort of thing, so I could read it and make notes and whatever. So a legal filing that was 2 months old, maybe not quite 2 months, but let's call it a month and a half old by the time that these content creators reported on it. And they reported on it within the same 24 hours. And they focused on the same section of that legal filing. Listen to me. It's not bad enough that there are coordinated efforts by the largest corporation on the largest music label on planet Earth that has done everything in its power to try and hurt Drake's reputation and to sort of railroad him at this point. And in my opinion, and frankly, I believe in Drake's opinion as well, tried to collude with Kendrick Lamar, with, these other rappers as well, but specifically with Kendrick, to do what labels have done for decades now. This is not a new play. I talked, a couple weeks ago on my other platforms about how Jay-Z was set in motion by the label to do the same thing to T-Pain, right? Back when Jay-Z came out with Death of Auto-Tune, right? And anyone with a working pair of eyes and a working brain could see that that's precisely what Jay-Z was doing. And it worked, right? And so, it's very hard for you all to look, a person that's not affiliated or connected to this situation with a straight face, to look them square in the eye and say that this is some weird conspiracy theory, that UMG would collude in order to do these things to Drake. Meanwhile, you all have obviously coordinated, you guys have obvious coordinated efforts to do just that anyone with a working brain knows came from the very top, right? Which would be UMG. But you all, even if that weren't true, the fact that you all have coordinated your own efforts amongst yourselves, let's say if that were true, to do the exact thing that we're saying UMG has done, even though that's not the case. UMG set this in motion, and I don't know who y'all's handlers are, but they set it in motion for you all. And I know what the end game is. On top of that, this is not just a matter of you all just wanting to grow your platforms, and it's bigger than that. I know that, and you all know that. Hopefully you know that. But it is what it is, man. But this is the reason why content creators are being added to Drake's lawsuit versus UMG. It is not because they gave him a bad review on his diss tracks against Kendrick. It is not because they gave a bad review to some Sexy Songs album. It is not because they said denigrating things about Drake doing interviews with Bobby Altoff and, or streamers or whomever, and not them. That is not why. It is because you all have been willing participants in efforts to irreparably harm Drake's career. So if you want to play that game, you're going to be thrown into the fire, and you don't get to go, but I'm just a little guy. Act like a little guy then, and mind your own business. I'm not saying not to report on things, but if you're going to play journalists, play it all the way. Journalists are something we call impartial.